Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to show you how I gave these mid-century modern chairs that I thrifted a little bit of a facelift with a simple upholstery technique. So let's get started. Here is our starting point. They are beautiful mid-century modern chairs, but the cushions have seen better days. Yeah, let's get a good close-up of that water stain. So to recover these, I'm going to need some upholstery foam, which I got in 2 different thicknesses, and I also got some of this beautiful boucle fabric. I also have some zippers to the size of my cushions, some sharp scissors, and a quilter square or something to measure with. I have a fabric marker, and you're going to want an extendable X-Acto knife to cut through the foam. The first thing I'm going to do is measure the existing cushions so I know what size to cut from my foam. I found it easiest to write this down in a notebook, so I had these numbers on hand for later. And here is a quick little cheat sheet of the measurements that we're looking for. Once I had the measurements of my finished cushions, the first thing was to cut my foam down to that size. I used my quilter square and fabric marker to measure, and then I used my utility knife with a long blade to do several passes to cut through the foam. After I cut my bottom cushion to size, I went ahead and did the same thing with my back cushion. And then it was time to cut the fabric. So I laid my fabric out flat on my table, and I used my measurements from the cushions to determine how much I would need. To determine the width of your fabric, you're going to take the width of your finished cushion plus the height plus 1 for the seam allowance. To determine the length of your fabric, you're going to take the length of your finished cushion times 2 plus the height of your finished cushion times 2 and add 1 for the seam allowance. Once I had my fabric cut to size, I folded it in half with the right sides facing together. I went ahead and folded my fabric in half, and to determine the size of the gussets, I took the height of my cushion, divided that by 2, and added 1/2 inch for the seam allowance. Obviously, work this equation with whatever size cushion you're working with, but just remember when you get to the side with the fold, you do not have to add that extra 1/2 inch because we won't be losing anything to the seam allowance. Now that I have the gussets cut, it's time to install the zipper. So with the right sides of the fabric facing together, I went ahead and pinned down that open side, and then I ran a straight stitch with the widest stitch possible right down that seam. Once I had that edge, I went ahead and pressed that seam open so I could add the zipper. Once I had my seam pressed, I went ahead and laid the zipper down face down on that seam and pinned in place. If you have a zipper foot, I highly recommend using it here. But I couldn't find mine, so I just used my regular presser foot to sew each side of the zipper down along that seam. After I had each side sewn down, I flipped my seat cushion inside out and used a seam ripper to take out that top stitch to reveal the zipper. Once my zipper was installed, it was time to sew up the rest of the cushion. So I went ahead and flipped it back inside out so that the right sides were facing together, and I started pinning along each open side to sew those up with a straight stitch. After I had those longer edges sewn up, I removed the pins, and the next step is to start sewing up the gussets. We're basically going to use this corner piece, otherwise known as a gusset, to create the depth of the cushion. So I'm just going to open it up and pinch both sides together, and I'm going to pin and then sew along that edge, making sure to press the seam that's already there open and sewing right over it. I did the same thing on the gusset with the zipper. The idea is to run your stitch right up until the zipper and then back off, because you don't want to sew over it, otherwise damaging your needle or the zipper. So you want to just go right up into it and then back off and do the same on the other side. Once I had all my gussets sewn up, it was time to flip my seat cover right side out again, and I made sure to kind of poke all the corners out so it was ready to be stuffed with the cushion. At this point, my cushions were cut down to size, but I did want to give them a layer of batting to give them just a little bit less of a square shape. So I cut my batting roughly to size, and I used spray adhesive to help me stick it onto the cushion as I wrapped it around. Once I had my seat cushions prepped with the batting, it was time to stuff them into the seat cushions that I made, and this is the finished product. Alright guys, thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you liked what you saw and you want to see more, be sure to let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe. See you next time.